The package sat on my doorstep like a landmine waiting to detonate. No return address, just my name in precise block letters that seemed too deliberate to be casual. I should have known better than to open it, should have trusted that creeping sensation along my spine that whispered something was wrong. My name is Chloe, and until 10 minutes ago I thought I understood my life. Funny how a single USB drive can shatter 28 years of marriage into sharp, glittering pieces. The video plays again on my laptop screen. I can't stop watching it, like pressing on a bruise to make sure it still hurts. Sam, my late husband, sits in an unfamiliar living room, bouncing a toddler on his knee. A woman I've never met leans into the frame, kissing his cheek. The timestamp shows this was filmed just 3 months before his heart attack. Connor needs to see this, I whispered to the empty kitchen, but my hands are already closing the laptop. My older son worshipped his father. This would destroy him just like it's destroying me. My phone buzzes. Speaking of Connor. Mom, Sophie and I were thinking about Dad's old beach house, he says, not bothering with hello. You're not using it, and we could really use the equity for our new place. I grip the counter, knuckles white. The beach house isn't for sale, Connor. We've discussed this. But it's just sitting there empty. Dad would have wanted... Your father wanted a lot of things, I cut in, the bitterness surprising even me. Apparently, he wanted a whole second family none of us knew about. Silence crackles across the line. What are you talking about? Nothing. Forget I said anything. But it's too late. I can hear the shift in his breathing, the way he's already gearing up for an argument. Mum, you can't just say something like that and then, I need to go. I hang up before he can protest, then immediately silence my phone as it starts buzzing again. The doorbell rings, making me jump. Through the peephole, I see Eli, my younger son, shifting from foot to foot on the porch. He's always had an uncanny sense for when something's wrong. I open the door and he takes one look at my face before stepping inside. What happened? Your father. I start, then stop, unsure how to continue. How do you tell your child their dead father had been living a double life? Eli guides me to the couch, his artist's hands gentle on my shoulders. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. I shake my head, reaching for the laptop. Someone sent me this today. I don't know who, but... I open it, start the video again. Eli watches in silence, his face growing paler with each passing second. When it ends, he lets out a long breath. Jesus Christ, Dad. There's more, I say, clicking through the files. Bank statements, years of transfers to an account in their name. Our name, he gave them our name, Eli. They're out there somewhere, living as Mitchells. Connor's going to lose it, Eli murmurs, running a hand through his hair. Especially with the inheritance stuff already. I know. I close the laptop again, suddenly exhausted. And Sophie will make sure he does. Sophie. Eli's voice carries a note of disgust. She's been pushing him about the beach house, hasn't she? I nod, remembering the way Connor's fiancée looked at me during our last family dinner, her smile sharp as a blade. She wants everything she thinks we owe them. And now... I gesture at the laptop. Now I don't even know what we really have anymore. What else was he hiding? Eli takes my hand, squeezing it gently. What are you going to do? I look down at our joined hands, thinking of Sam's other family, of Sophie's manipulative games, of Connor's increasing demands. 28 years of memories shift and reform, taking on new, darker shapes. I'm going to find out exactly what your father left behind, I say finally. And then I'm going to make sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve. 3 days after the video arrived, I sit across from Connor at our family's beach house, watching him pace like a caged animal. The late afternoon sun catches the dust motes he stirs up, making them dance like tiny accusations in the air. You're telling me Dad had another family? And you're just mentioning this now? His voice cracks on the last word. I needed time to process it myself. I run my finger along a scratch in the dining table, remembering Sam teaching Connor to ride his bike on the deck outside. How many other children had he taught to ride bikes? Show me the video again. Connor, show me. He slams his hand on the table, making the crystal vase jump. Sam's mother's vase, another inheritance to fight over. I open the laptop, but before I can press play, Sophie sweeps in through the French doors. Sorry I'm late, traffic was terrible. She kisses Connor's cheek, then freezes, reading the room. What's wrong? Connor gestures at the laptop. Mum's been keeping secrets. Sophie slides into the chair beside him, her manicured hand finding his arm. Perfect nails, perfect clothes, perfect mask of concern. What kind of secrets? I press play instead of answering. Let her see for herself. Let her calculate how this affects her plans. The video plays. Sam laughs on screen, bouncing that unknown child. Sophie's grip on Connor's arm tightens visibly. Those bank statements, she says when it ends, voice carefully neutral. How much was he sending them? Of course, that's her first question. Enough to buy several beach houses, I reply, watching her face. So what you're saying is, half of what we thought was our inheritance isn't even ours. Connor runs his hands through his hair, messing it up the way he did as a teenager when stressed about exams. That's not what I'm saying at all. I close the laptop firmly. I'm saying we need to take time to understand what this means before making any decisions about property or money. Sophie leans forward. But surely this changes things legally. If there's another family with claims to the estate, there's nothing legal about what Sam did, I cut in, and I'm still executor of the estate, which means you get to decide everything, Connor stands abruptly. Like always. That's not fair, I start, but Sophie's already speaking over me. Connor's right, Chloe. You can't expect us to just sit back while you figure things out on your own. We have a right to know what's happening with our future. Our future. Not Connor's future. Ours. The front door opens and Eli walks in, carrying his camera bag. He takes in the scene, Connor's clenched fists, Sophie's predatory posture, my white-knuckled grip on the laptop. Thought I might find everyone here, he says quietly. Did you know? Connor demands. Did Mom tell you first? I found out when she did. Eli sets his bag down carefully. And before you start yelling, maybe consider that Mom's the victim here too. The victim? Sophie's laugh is sharp as broken glass. She's the one with all the power. She could sell this place tomorrow if she wanted to, couldn't she? Is that what this is really about? I stand slowly. The beach house? Don't twist this around, Connor snaps. This isn't about the house. It's about you hiding things from us. Again. 3 days, I say. I waited 3 days to tell you your father had been lying to all of us for years. Forgive me if I needed a moment to breathe before shattering your world too. Silence falls, heavy with unspoken accusations. Sophie breaks it first, her voice honey-sweet with false concern. Maybe we should all take some time to process this. Connor and I could stay here for a few days, couldn't we, Chloe? It would give us all space to think. I meet her gaze steadily. The house isn't available. Mom, Connor starts. No, my voice is steel now. This house stays in my name until I decide otherwise. If you want to discuss the rest of the inheritance, we can do that through the lawyers. Lawyers? Connor looks stricken. You're bringing in lawyers now? I think that's wise, Sophie says, standing. Come on, Connor, we should go. I watch them leave, Sophie steering Connor toward the door with a practiced hand. Just before they exit, she glances back at me and for a moment her mask slips. I see calculation in her eyes and something like fear. Eli moves to stand beside me. You okay? No, I answer honestly, but I will be. Will? The private investigator's report lands in my inbox at 3 a.m. I've been waiting for it, unable to sleep, watching the shadows crawl across my ceiling. Sophie's family history unfolds on my screen like a cheap tragedy, foreclosed homes, bankruptcies, and a string of wealthy fiancés who mysteriously lost interest before reaching the altar. Grace calls just after sunrise. You're sure about this? My sister-in-law's voice carries the weight of 20 years of friendship. The report's thorough. I pour coffee with shaking hands. Sophie's father's company went under last month. They're drowning in debt. And Connor has no idea? He sees what she wants him to see. Just like I did with Sam. The parallel makes my stomach turn. What are you going to do? Before I can answer, my doorbell rings. Through the window, I see Sophie standing on my porch, perfectly coiffed despite the early hour. I have to go, she's here. Who's? I end the call, tucking my phone away. Sophie doesn't wait for an invitation, striding past me into the foyer. We need to talk about Connor. Do we? I close the door slowly, gathering myself. Or do we need to talk about your family's financial situation? She freezes, one hand clutching her designer handbag, a knockoff I now know. I don't know what you mean. Your father's bankruptcy, the foreclosure notices, the pattern of wealthy men who… Stop! Her voice cracks, the perfect facade splintering. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're using my son to save yourself. I love Connor. You love what he represents. I move closer, watching her step back. Security, status, a way out of your family's mess. Like you didn't marry Sam for his money? Her eyes narrow, desperate. Everyone knows you were just a resident when you met. He gave you everything. The laugh that escapes me sounds foreign to my own ears. Is that what you think? I paid for medical school myself. The practice was mine before I met Sam. He didn't give me anything I hadn't already earned. Then why won't you give Connor what he deserves? The beach house. This isn't about the beach house anymore. I pull out my phone, opening the report. Should we talk about David? Or Michael, your other almost fiancés? Colour drains from her face. You had me investigated. Like you investigated me? Don't think I haven't noticed you digging through our financial records, asking questions about Sam's estate. Connor deserves to know what his father did. The other family… Don't. My voice turns to ice. Don't you dare use Sam's mistakes to justify your lies. She straightens, desperation replaced by something harder. If you show Connor that report, I'll tell him everything. About how you're hiding assets, how you knew about the other family for weeks before telling him. 3 days. I waited 3 days. That's not how he'll see it. Her smile turns cruel. He already thinks you're controlling, manipulative. It won't take much to convince him you're the villain here. Get out of my house. Think carefully about your next move, Chloe. She adjusts her fake designer bag. Connor's fragile right now. Finding out about his father broke something in him. Do you really want to break him more? After she leaves, I stand in my kitchen, hands pressed flat against the cool granite counter. My phone buzzes, a text from Eli. Saw Sophie leaving. You okay? I stare at the message, thinking about choices and consequences, about Sam's secrets and Sophie's threats, about Connor, caught between manipulation and truth. My fingers hover over the keyboard, then move decisively. No, I type, but I know what I have to do. I open my email, forward the investigator's report to my lawyer, then start a new message to Connor. The subject line stays blank for a long moment before I type. What you need to know. Sophie's right about one thing. The truth will break him. But sometimes things need to break before they can heal properly. I should know. I'm a doctor, after all. I press send before I can change my mind, then pick up my phone again to call Grace. I'll need allies for what comes next, and she's always been good at picking up pieces. The sun climbs higher outside my window as I wait for the explosion I've just set in motion. Let Sophie play her games. I've spent my life putting people back together. I know exactly how things break. The engagement party invitation arrives like a slap. Cream-coloured cardstock with gold embossing, as fake as everything else about Sophie. I find Connor waiting in my office at the hospital that afternoon, the same invitation crumpled in his fist. You had no right. His voice is eerily calm. No right to investigate her. I continue reviewing my patient charts, letting the familiar medical terminology anchor me. Someone had to. Her family's financial troubles aren't your business. Neither was your father's second family, but here we are. The words escape before I can stop them. Connor slams his hand on my desk, scattering papers. This isn't about Dad, isn't it? I finally look up. You're so desperate to prove you're not him that you can't see you're making the same mistakes. Sophie loves me. Sophie loves money. I pull the investigator's report from my drawer. Did she tell you about David, the hedge fund manager she was engaged to last year? His face pales. That's not. Or Michael, the real estate developer. Both relationships ended when their financial situations changed. I push the file toward him. Read it. Or don't. But don't tell me I had no right to protect my son. Protect me? He laughs, harsh and broken. Like you protected us from knowing about Dad's other family? That was different. Was it? He stands, towering over my desk. You're just like him, controlling everything, deciding what everyone else gets to know. The comparison hits like a physical blow. Before I can respond, my office door opens and Grace steps in, freezing at the tension in the room. I can come back, she starts, but Connor's already moving past her. Don't bother. I was just leaving. He pauses at the door. The engagement party's next Saturday. Don't come. Grace waits until his footsteps fade before speaking. That went well. He's making a mistake. I straighten the scattered papers with shaking hands. Probably. She sits in the chair Connor vacated. But it's his mistake to make. Not if I can stop it. Chloe. Her voice carries a warning. You're walking a dangerous line here. You didn't see the look in Sophie's eyes when I confronted her. She's desperate. And you're not? Grace leans forward. Look at yourself. When's the last time you slept? You're letting this consume you. What else am I supposed to do? Watch her destroy him? Maybe. She holds up a hand when I start to protest. Sometimes we have to let people we love hit bottom before they can see clearly. My phone buzzes. A text from Eli. Sophie's at the beach house with movers. The world tilts sideways. That's impossible. She doesn't have keys. Connor does, Grace says quietly. I'm already grabbing my coat. Grace follows me to the parking lot, sliding into my passenger seat without asking. What are you doing? I demand. Making sure you don't do anything stupid. She buckles her seatbelt pointedly, like Sam would have done. The comparison stings just like Connor's did. I'm nothing like Sam. No, she watches me grip the steering wheel. You're both willing to destroy your family to protect it. We drive in silence, the autumn sun setting behind storm clouds. When we reach the beach house, there's a moving truck in the driveway and Sophie directing men carrying out antiques. My antiques, Sam's mother's antiques. Eli stands on the porch looking lost. I tried to stop them. Connor gave them authorization papers. Where is he? My voice sounds distant to my own ears. Inside with the estate lawyer. Sophie appears in the doorway, triumphant, signing over his portion of the property. It's amazing what people will do for love, isn't it? The world narrows to a single point. Sophie's smiling face, so sure of her victory. Behind me, Grace makes a small sound of warning, but I'm already moving forward, 28 years of betrayal and loss crystallizing into this moment. You want to see what people will do for love? I reach for my phone, Sophie's carefully constructed world about to shatter. Let me show you. Grace's warning echoes in my head as I study the engagement party venue through my car window. The country club's pristine facade masks the storm brewing inside, just like Sophie's perfect smile hides her desperation. You don't have to do this, Eli says from the passenger seat. We could just go home. I check my phone one last time, reviewing the email from Sophie's previous fiancé. His words burn across the screen. She'll destroy everything you love and make you thank her for it. No, I say, tucking the phone away. We're finishing this. Inside, crystal chandeliers throw fractured light across familiar faces. Sophie's parents hover near the bar, their designer clothes as fraudulent as their daughter's smile. Connor stands beside them, champagne in hand, looking lost in his own engagement party. Dr. Mitchell, Sophie materializes beside me, her voice honey-sweet. I didn't expect you to come, given our discussion at the beach house. I wouldn't miss it. I match her tone. Though I notice Sam's mother's silver isn't decorating the tables. Her smile tightens. Connor's lawyer assured us the pieces were part of his inheritance. The lawyer you chose for him, you mean? Before she can respond, Connor appears. Mom, please, not tonight. When then? The words escape before I can stop them. After she's sold everything we have left? Dr. Mitchell. Sophie's father joins us, swaying slightly. Such a pleasure. Sophie tells me you're being very generous with Connor's inheritance. I watch his expensive watch catch the light, probably borrowed, like everything else in their lives. Actually, I wanted to discuss that. The trust fund has some interesting stipulations. Sophie's hand tightens on Connor's arm. This isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I pull out my phone. Before we discuss inheritance, maybe we should talk about your father's bankruptcy, or your previous engagements. The colour drains from Sophie's face. Behind her, her father stumbles backward, knocking into a waiter. Champagne glasses shatter against marble floors. What previous engagements? Connor's voice cuts through the sudden silence. Mom, don't. Eli touches my arm. Not like this. But I'm already pulling up the photos. Sophie with David, with Michael, with each man who thought she loved him until their money ran out. Show him, Sophie. Show him how you really operate. Connor, she's lying. Sophie's voice cracks. She's trying to control you just like she always has. Like Sam controlled me? The words taste like ash. I watched my husband build a second life while I smiled and played the perfect wife. I won't watch my son make the same mistake. Chloe. Grace appears from nowhere, her presence steady. Think about what you're doing. Connor looks between us, confusion giving way to anger. You're all talking about me like I'm not even here, like I can't make my own choices. Because your choices are destroying this family. The words echo across the suddenly silent room. No, Mom. Connor steps back, pulling Sophie with him. You are. The truth of it hits like a physical blow. I look around the room, at the horrified guests, at Eli's pained expression, at Grace's disappointment. I've become exactly what I feared, someone who would burn everything to save it. Sophie sees her advantage and takes it. I think you should leave. Connor, I try one last time, please just look at the evidence. Get out! His voice is ice. Now! I turn to leave, dignity crumbling with each step, but at the door I hear Sophie's father slur loudly. At least we got the beach house before she figured it out. The room freezes. I turn back slowly, watching Connor's face as understanding finally breaks through. What does he mean, got the beach house? He releases Sophie's arm. What did you do? Sophie's mask slips just for a moment. It's enough. I should feel triumphant. Instead, I feel hollow as I watch my son's world crumble, just like mine did with that USB drive. This is what revenge costs. Not just the target, but everyone around them. I'll be at home, I tell him quietly, when you're ready to talk. Outside, the night air feels thick with possibilities and regret. Eli follows me to the car, his silence more eloquent than words. Did I just make everything worse? I ask. He considers for a long moment. Maybe, but at least now everything's true. Truth. Such a simple word for such devastating consequences. I start the car, wondering if Sam felt this same mixture of victory and loss when he started his second family. If he ever understood the real cost of his choices. I'm beginning to. The beach house feels like a tomb in the pre-dawn darkness. I sit at Sam's old desk, surrounded by the wreckage of Sophie's movers, empty spaces where paintings hung, gaps in the shelving where family photos stood. The USB drive that started everything sits beside an unopened bottle of Sam's favourite scotch. My phone lights up. Grace. Connor's looking for Sophie, she says without preamble. She disappeared after the party. Her parents too. Of course they did. I trace the edge of the desk where Connor carved his initials as a child. They got what they wanted. Not everything. The beach house transfer wasn't legal. Your lawyer already filed an injunction. It doesn't matter anymore. I stare at the scotch bottle. I lost him anyway. The front door creaks. Heavy footsteps in the hallway. I know those steps. Heard them stomping upstairs through teenage tantrums, trudging home after football losses, walking away from me at the engagement party. Connor appears in the doorway looking like he's aged years in hours. They're gone, he says, all of them. The apartment's empty. I know. They took everything. His voice cracks. The ring, The money I gave them for the wedding venue, even my car. Connor, don't. He slumps against the doorframe. Just don't say you told me so. I wasn't going to. I push the scotch bottle aside. I was going to say I'm sorry. He laughs, bitter and broken. For what? Being right? Trying to protect me? Or for waiting until I was completely humiliated to do it? The accusation hits home. I thought exposing her would save you. Save me? He straightens, anger flaring. You destroyed me, Mom, in front of everyone we know, just like Dad destroyed you with that video. That's different. Is it? He moves to the window, staring out at the dark ocean. You both decided what everyone else needed to know, when they needed to know it. You controlled the truth just like he did. The parallel steals my breath. Connor, please. I found this in Sophie's things. He pulls out a familiar envelope, the one that held the USB drive. She's the one who sent you the video about Dad's other family. Did you know that? The room tilts sideways. What? She found them months ago. Used it to pressure Dad's lawyer about the inheritance. His laugh is hollow. Guess she learned from the best, right? Using people's secrets against them? I grip the desk edge, remembering Sophie's words at our confrontation. Everyone knows you married Sam for his money. She'd known then. Had orchestrated everything. I was trying to protect you, I whisper. No. Connor turns, his face hard in the dim light. You were trying to win, just like Sophie, just like Dad. And look what it got us. He drops the envelope on the desk. The beach house is yours. Everything's yours. I don't want any of it anymore. Where will you go? Does it matter? He moves toward the door, then pauses. You know what the worst part is? Sophie might have been using me, but at least she was honest about who she was in the end. You're still lying to yourself about what this was really about. The door closes behind him with devastating finality. I sit in the growing dawn, surrounded by the ruins of 2 generations of betrayal. The USB drive glows faintly, a technological ghost holding all our failures. My phone buzzes again, Eli this time. Mom, you okay? I stare at the message, thinking about Sam's secrets, Sophie's manipulations, my own righteous certainty that revenge would heal everything. No, I type back. I don't think I am. The sun rises over the ocean, painting everything in harsh morning light. I open Sam's scotch with shaking hands, pour a measure into his favourite crystal tumbler, one of the few pieces Sophie's movers didn't take. You would have loved this, I tell his empty chair. All of us destroying each other with the truth. Isn't that what you were afraid of? Why you never told us about them? The scotch burns going down. Outside, waves crash against the shore, eternal and indifferent to our human dramas. I pick up the USB drive, turning it in my hands, finally understanding that revenge doesn't heal wounds. It just passes them down, generation after generation. Each of us thinking we're different, we're justified, we're right. Until we're all equally wrong. A week after Connor walks out, I find Sophie waiting in my hospital office. She sits in my chair, perfectly poised, as if she hasn't destroyed everything she touched. Bold of you to come here, I say, closing the door behind me. Desperate times. She gestures to the chair across from her, my guest chair in my office. Please, sit. I remain standing. Where's Connor? Gone. She examines her manicured nails. But you knew that already. The question is, where's the money? What money? Don't play stupid, Chloe. The offshore accounts, Sam's secret investments. Her smile turns sharp. Did you think I only found the video? I found everything. The floor seems to shift beneath my feet. Sam's voice echoes in my memory. Just sign these papers, honey. Trust me to handle the finances. I don't know what you're talking about. No. She pulls out her phone, starts reading. 3 accounts in the Cayman Islands. A shell company in Panama. All technically legal, but messy if the IRS starts asking questions. She looks up. Connor's signature is on half these documents. Did you know that? My blood runs cold. Sam wouldn't what? Set up his son to take the fall if things went wrong? She laughs. You really didn't know him at all, did you? What do you want? A deal. She stands, moving around the desk. You transfer the beach house to Connor, legally this time, and I'll make sure these documents never reach the authorities. You're blackmailing me with my own son. I learned from the best. She perches on the desk edge. Wasn't that what you did? Used Sam's secrets to control Connor? I was protecting him. So am I. Her voice softens with false sympathy. He's fragile right now, Chloe. Finding out his father made him an unwitting accomplice to tax fraud. It would destroy him. The pieces click together. You planned this from the beginning. The video, the engagement, all of it. Not all of it. You did most of the work yourself. She straightens, smoothing her skirt. Your revenge against me gave me everything I needed. Connor hates you now. He'll believe anything I tell him. He won't. He already has. She holds up her phone, showing me a text conversation. Connor's words blur before my eyes. Mum never cared about protecting me, only about controlling everything. My hands shake as I reach for my own phone. I'm calling security. Go ahead. I'll be gone before they arrive. But these documents? She waves her phone. They'll go straight to the IRS. Your choice, Chloe. The door opens. Eli steps in, camera in hand. Actually, he says quietly, I think we got everything we need. Sophie's mask slips for the first time. What? Did you really think I'd meet you alone? I ask, finding my strength. After everything. You recorded every word. Eli holds up his camera, including the blackmail attempt, the confession about the video, everything. She lunges for the camera. Eli steps back, bumping into Grace as she enters with 2 police officers. Sophie Williams. One officer steps forward. We'd like to ask you some questions about fraud and extortion. You can't prove anything. But her voice wavers. Actually, Grace says, we can. The offshore accounts. They don't exist. Sam was many things, but he never involved Connor in anything illegal. You played your hand too hard. I watch Sophie's perfect facade crumble as the officers lead her away. Her final glare holds more venom than any snake. Connor, she says, pausing at the door. He'll never forgive you for this. Maybe not. I meet her gaze steadily, but at least he'll be free of both our manipulations. After she's gone, I sink into my chair, in my office. Eli puts his hand on my shoulder. You okay? No. I look up at my children, one here, one lost to the aftermath of all our choices. But maybe now we can start being honest about why. Grace picks up Sophie's abandoned phone. Should we call Connor? Not yet. I think of Sam, of Sophie, of all the secrets we keep thinking they'll protect the ones we love. He needs to find his own truth first. We all do. Outside my office window, the sun breaks through storm clouds. Not an ending, not really, but maybe, finally, a chance to begin again. Without secrets, without revenge, without the shadows we cast trying to protect each other from the light. The beach house looks different in winter. Waves crash against the shore, darker and more insistent than the summer swells. I'm packing Sam's old desk when I hear footsteps on the porch, too heavy for Eli, too hesitant for Grace. Connor stands in the doorway thinner than I remember, shadows under his eyes that weren't there before. The door was unlocked, he says. It always is. I continue sorting papers, giving him space to find his words. He moves to the window where the antique vase sits, the one Sophie's movers tried to take. You're selling it then? Converting it. I close a drawer. Eli's turning it into an art gallery. His work deserves to be seen. And your practice? Retired last month. I watch his reflection in the window. Turns out revenge is exhausting work. He turns, almost smiling. That's why you're giving up the beach house? Tired of fighting? No. I meet his eyes. I'm giving up the idea that holding on to things means holding on to people. Silence stretches between us, filled with waves and winter wind. Connor picks up a framed photo, him and Eli as children, building sandcastles where the gallery will soon stand. Sophie took a plea deal, he says finally. She's paying restitution to her other victims. I know. Did you know about them? Before? Not all of them. I moved to stand beside him. Just like your father's other family. We see what we choose to see. He sets the photo down carefully. I found them, you know. Dad's other kids. They're... He swallows hard. They're good people. They didn't ask for any of this either. None of us did. I was so angry at you, he says, for exposing Sophie, for trying to control everything. But then I realized I was really angry at myself, for being just like Dad, for needing someone else to save me from my own choices. Connor, let me finish. His voice shakes. I understand now why he kept secrets, why you exposed them, why Sophie tried to destroy us all. We were all just scared of losing control. I think of Sam's video, of Sophie's threats, of my own desperate need to protect my son from truths he needed to find himself. The gallery opening is next month, I say. Eli's featuring a series about family, about the shadows we cast trying to protect each other from the light. Subtle little brother. But Connor's almost smile returns. Will you be there? Yes. I touch the photo frame. Will you? He's quiet for a long moment. I'm not ready to move back. I need to figure out who I am without everyone else's expectations. I know. But maybe... He straightens. Maybe I could come to the opening, see what Eli's done with the place. He'd like that. I turn to face him fully. I would too. The doorbell rings. Eli, right on time. Connor steps back, moving toward the side door. I should go. Connor, I catch his arm. The door's always unlocked, remember that. He nods once, then slips out into the winter afternoon. Through the window, I watch him pause at the edge of the property, looking back at the house, at the ocean, at the life we're all slowly learning to rebuild. Eli enters, carrying paint samples and renovation plans. Was that? Yes. Is he okay? No. I pick up the photo of my sons in happier days. But maybe that's okay too. We all need to break before we can heal differently. Deep thoughts for a gallery renovation? Eli teases, but his eyes are understanding. Speaking of renovation, I hand him an envelope. This came yesterday from Sam's other family. He reads quickly, eyes widening. They want to invest in the gallery? They want to be part of something honest. I look around the room, seeing not what was lost, but what might be built in its place. Something that acknowledges all our shadows while letting in new light. Outside, the winter sun breaks through clouds, casting long shadows across the beach. Soon, this room will be filled with Eli's art, with new memories, with truths we're finally strong enough to face. The waves keep crashing, eternal and indifferent. But in their rhythm, I hear something I've been missing. Not an ending, but a transformation. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. Sometimes that's enough.